Hey, what's up, Life Panzer with another Path of Exile video, and in today's video we're going to talk about Path of Building. This is a new tool, just got released around 18 hours ago or something, and it's phenomenal for creating and sharing builds in Path of Exile, and messing around with builds as well. So I'm going to want to go over just the broad strokes. I don't want this to be a really long video. I did one take of this before, it was 37 minutes, that's too long. So there are a few important places to know, and it's the tree section. So here you have the skill tree. You can change what kind of character you are. There's these buttons up at the top. So auto and manual just means automatic or manual adding of points to the levels. So if I click manual and I add this point here, it doesn't do anything. If I add auto and then do this, then my level changes. That's it. Don't worry about it. So here I have monk, I have invoker. This is what I am. You can just change these. You will have to, like, when you get Path of Building, then you will just start off with a blank slate. I think this defaults to Ranger, but you can just add in all of your points here. Don't forget these attribute nodes, then these can change. I think you can do right click here and then change it to whatever your default is. So mine is strength for some reason, but you most builds, I'm an attribute stacker, so I'm like, you know, between dex, int, and strength. But when you do this, when you click an attribute, you can say choose an attribute, and this is basically going to change this to your default. So if I click this to be intelligence, allocate, now it's going to say pants probably wants intelligence all the time. So when you right click this, boom, now it changes to intelligence. Easy. This tree section is fantastic. You can also search in this tree. So I wanted to, I think I'm going to anoint my amulet with spaghettification, which is over here. And the default search in the game is really not great at highlighting stuff. So if I do just Control F and do spag, then you can see here, there's only one little red thing on the entire tree. Really easy to see. And then if I hover over it, you can see at the top there, isolation, despair, fear. It's telling me what kind of anoints I need for it as well. So this is how you just add in your skill tree. Obviously, there's the nodes over here as well. So these are my nodes for my ascendancy. There's not a huge amount. There's some other things that are going to be quite useful when this launches in, when this progresses further in development in the future. But for now, all you really need to know about the tree section is that you can add in your tree, and you should. And don't forget to make sure that your small nodes are the correct attribute. Then we're going over to the skills section. This is where you can add in your skills. But here you can just chuck in all of your skills. So my main skill, Tempest Flurry. I've got Tempest Flurry in here. I've selected what level of skill it's going to be. The quality, I should probably put this up to 20 to make sure that, that my melee strike range is accurate. You can also just double click it. So if I'm going to do this, I can put this up to 13. Damage goes up, but mana cost also goes up as well. And then I can chuck in all of my support gems here. And if I can click this, then it's including full DPS. So this is going to include the DPS from, like, say, buffs like Herald of Ice, or maybe I've got Arcane Surge or something like that. You know, it's going to include the buffs in as well. So I've got my Tempest Flurry, I've got Charge Staff, I've got Tempest Bell, I've got Herald of Thunder, I've got Herald of Ice, Wind Dancer. So this, making sure this is included in my full DPS doesn't actually, it shouldn't really change my DPS. Oh no, it changes the Gale Force, sorry. But then this also, if I've got it enabled here, then this is going to increase my chance of evading stuff. So it's good for figuring out what my hit pool is. So here I've got all my skill gems and all of their supports. Over here I've got my main skill. I've got Tempest Flurry, and then I've got Normal Strike, Third Strike, or Fourth Strike. So depending on if you want to know what is my Fourth Strike damage, which is also quite useful to know, then this is how you check that. So make sure that your main skill is selected correctly. You can also do Control 1, Control 2, Control 3, Control 4, and it swaps you between these menus as well. Items section over here, this is a big one. This is a big one. You can select any item in the game here. So my belt is actually a Midnight Braid belt. I've got, actually, let's talk about my, I don't actually have an Astromantis. Let's talk about my leveling gloves. These are only level 52, they're not very good. So if I wanted to see, but what if I had perfect gloves? So these ones are plus 22 to dexterity and plus 20 to intelligence. That's pretty good, but if I wanted to find better ones, so hand of wisdom and action, furtive wraps, I can just double click this. It opens up this thing here, and then I can select the dexterity roll. I want that to be very high, and I can select the intelligence roll. I also want that to be very high as well, and then I can corrupt it too, and you can select your corruption outcome, blah 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 blah, and then you can add it to the build. And then when I swap to those, you can see here it says, oh, my damage will go up by 3.8%, my hit DPS will go up by 3.8%, I would have plus 1.2% do mana. It tells you what the effect of adding these things to your build is going to be. These are just for the unique items. Now, how do you, like, I've got my Corruption Shell Advanced Marabut garb. I got my jacket slot here. So I think I even have some boots that we don't really exist yet. So I've got this body armor, and this is the body armor that I'm wearing in the game. Now, did I do anything specific to get this in? I just hover over it, I press Control C, and then I come over here and press Control V, and that's it. It's here, and I can add it in. Now, I'm not going to add the same one in. Let's go and add a different one in. So, actually, we've got a quarterstaff. This is a really good example. So I've got a quarterstaff here. I've got this Pillar of the Caged God. This is the one I'm using at the moment. You can see here. But if I come in game here and I can press Control C, then I can come here, press Control V, and it knows exactly what the item is. And it knows that if I was using this, I would get 21% increased damage. So I can just click that, add it to the build, and then select my increased damage quarterstaff. Really easy. You can do this with all your items. It is a bit of a pain in the butt to have to copy and paste all of your items into the game and get all your skills on the skill tree correct. It took me 8 minutes to do all mine. And mine's a bit finicky as well. But you just basically, you're copying and pasting, was it 11 items or something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah. You're copying and pasting a few items, 10-ish items. Maybe you have some gems on your skill tree as well. And then you're just selecting your skills. Honestly, the thing that, you're just selecting your passive tree, but the thing that takes the most time is just the skills. So if you only have like 3 or 4 skills or something, then this is going to be super quick for you. These are the items. You can also create an item. So I know let's say, rare boots, and I want to have some advanced, let's say expert silk slippers. I want to create them, and then you can just select what the boots do. So like, I want increased move speed, and I want max energy shield, and I want lots of chaos resistance here as well. That kind of stuff. You can add that to the build. And then when you come to the boots section over here, you can see these expert silk slippers. They're going to give me 2.9% increased effective hit pool, which is how tanky my character is, and it's going to give me more or less damage. So you can create any item you want. Some really crazy ones that probably don't exist, but really, really useful. The calculations section. This is how the sausage is made. This is where all your skills and passive points and everything else is sort of all put together, and this is how you are made. So you can come over here, make sure you're on the right skill. So I'm on Tempest Flurry, 3rd strike, probably not, I'm probably on normal strikes. And then I can just click over here on this. So I've got main hand crit chance. I can hover over this, and it's 204% increased crit chance, and you can see there's a bunch of stats on here. If I click, then it stays in place. So maybe we don't care about you can click away to get it away, but maybe you only care about, like, I don't know, fire resistance or something. So where's my fire resistance coming from? My maximum is 75 as a baseline. I've got plus 34 from my body armor, from my jacket. I got plus 10 from each of the quests that you do in Jaquani's Machinarium. And then I've got some from my fancy hat. I got some from my belt, and then I got this custom one as well. What does that mean? We'll get to that in a second. But so this is how I can see all of my stats, what they mean. There's some other ones here, like how many, what kind of defenses you've got, or how much energy shield, where's your spirit from. So what's my total base spirit? You can see I've got from Azak Bog, the normal Freythorn one as well that you do, and then I got some from my Ascendancy too. So the calculations tab, this is super useful, especially if you're trying to figure out, why is this thing happening? I don't understand why this thing is happening. This is a really, really useful place to go. Configuration. This is where you can, by default, Path of Building thinks that you're sort of endgame. So this is where you check, like, oh, maybe you've only done Act 2 normal. So then you probably want to uncheck all these things from Act 3 and get rid of all these, the +10 cold resistances that you get from the cruel one and that kind of stuff. You can also do Control Z and it will undo the things that you just did. Very useful to know. But here you can select your quest rewards, so you know, because maybe in the Venom Crypt you didn't get for the +5 attributes, maybe you went for the +10 chaos resistance, maybe trying to figure out where is my chaos resistance, why does it not match the in-game one. There's also a way to add in, oh, I'm using power charges. How many am I using? I'm only using 2 for some reason, but not the maximum. You can check in all of these things. If there is somebody who has just checked all of these when they share a build with you, all of these things are, these crazy numbers here, and they're all ticked, then it's possible that the build is a little bit bait. As you can see here, my total DPS is 26k with all of these things turned on. And if I just turn these off, then my DPS plummets down to 6k. So just make sure that they're not all on. Sometimes there will be a few on, and that's fine, because maybe you want to know what it's like in combat. Usually POB calculates your damage when it's when you're like in town, when you're just sat around in your hideout or something. Custom modifiers. This is, I have +100 to all elemental resistances. This is so I just don't need to care about elemental resistances, because most people understand that you do have to have elemental resistances. Most people know that. But if it says, I don't know, like +20 to critical strike chance, like flat +20, or +500 physical damage, then that might be, if they're modifying damage in the custom modifiers, then that is very highly likely it's bait. But if they're just modifying your defenses, then it's because you're supposed to have defenses. Everybody knows you're supposed to have defenses. So configuration can be really, really useful for just tweaking everything slightly. Note section. Do not sleep on the note section. If somebody gives you a Path of Building build, check the notes, because this is probably where the FAQ is. This is probably where all the questions that you may or may not ask in the YouTube comments is going to be answered. So check the notes section. This is usually quite extensive from a lot of build creators. Very useful to know. There's another button here, import export build. This is not working yet, and that's a shame. Or at least one part of it's not working, and that's character import, and this is not yet enabled by GGG. So in Path of Building 1 and for Path of Exile 1, I have like a character, and it's a public character, and you could just type in my name, my account name, and it will find all of the characters I have that are public, and it will allow you to download them into Path of Building and just look at them and mess around with them and stuff like that. That's not yet enabled in Path of Building 2. Well, it's not enabled in Path of Exile 2. Path of Building is waiting for Grinding Gear Games to fix this. So at the moment, import export is just for build sharing. So my build right now, so this tree, these skills, these items, this calculation, this configuration, that kind of stuff. If I go here, I can just generate. I just click this button, generate, and then I can choose how I want to generate it, and I can share it, and then it's going to create this max roll link, because I have max roll here, and then I just go into a web browser and put this in here, and then I'm not, yeah, I should pay, but here it is in Maxroll. Pretty useful, and it shows you all the stuff, and it shows you the tree, and it's got everything here. But you can share, you could give this Maxroll link to someone, or in Path of Building, you could type this in here, and you could import it. So if somebody gives you a Maxroll link, you should be able to chuck it into Path of Building, and then you can mess around with it in Path of Building, because it's a bit easier to, it's much more customizable in Path of Building to change everything around. So this is Path of Building. I'm going to cut it here because it's there's also this trade for these items section. This is super useful, and it's we're waiting on a bug fix from Grinding Gear Games for some other stuff, but you can play around with all of these things. Give this tool a go. Honestly, this is as important as a trading macro. It's really, really good. I will always be sharing my builds this way. If you want me to look at a build, swing by the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/live live every day. If you want me to look at a build, send me a POB link and I will look at it. And then maybe I can help you out or something. Maybe. But this is the way that content creators or people on Twitch, they want to be able to consume builds, because it's honestly it's the way that we're used to from Path of Exile 1. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope this has been useful to you. Download this tool today. Honestly, I can't stress it enough. It's so good. It's so useful for checking stuff out. And if you want to know like what my next upgrade is, you can just search through all of these things. If you look for, I don't know, Astromantis or something. Oh, I want to get an Astromantis. What would that do for my build? And it's 16% damage if I get a really, really good one. Add it to the build and then check in here. I've got an Astromantis already. Really, really useful tool. Check it out today. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you have a great time checking out this tool. But with that, I hope you're kind to everyone you meet. I love you all very much. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.